This is tape number ET4 from the library of the Howard Thurman Educational Trust. Two meditations by Howard Thurman. This is side 1, entitled Salute to the New Year.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. I'm beginning this first meditation for the new year by reading from Meditations of the Heart. There is always something impressive about a new start. Think how fortunate it would be if time was not somehow divided into parts. Suppose there were no day, only night. Even in parts of the world near the North Pole, there is a 6-month day and a 6-month night. Or suppose there were only winter, or only summer, or only spring. Suppose there were no artificial things like months, so that we could not be mindful of the passing of time. Suppose there were no years, just the passing of hours with no signposts to mark them into units of months and years. Then there would be no new year. The beginning of another year means the end of a year that has fulfilled itself and passed on. It means that some things are finished, rounded out, completed forever. It means that for some of us, certain changes have taken place that are so profound in their nature that we can never be what we were before. There is something so final, so absolute about a year that is gone. Something of it remains in us that we take into the year that is next in line. But the new year means a fresh start, a second wind, another chance, a kind of reprieve, a divine act of grace bestowed upon the children of men. It is important to remember that whatever the fact may have been, it cannot be undone. It remains a fact. If we have made serious blunders, they are made. All our tears cannot unmake them. We may learn from them and carry our hard-won lessons into the new year. We can remember them not with pain but with gratitude that in our new wisdom we can live into the present year with deeper understanding and greater humanity. May whatever suffering we brought on ourselves or other people teach us to understand life more completely, and in our understanding of life, to love life more wisely, thus fulfilling God's faith in us by permitting us to begin this new year. It is always a fateful thing to stand at the beginning, or even to have a sense of beginnings. It means that there stretches out before us areas of living and thinking and experiencing that have not been explored by us, and with reference to which always there are possibilities undreamed of. The sense of the future is very important in the living of life in the present, for it means that we have been chosen, as it were, to have another chance to improve our lives, to make fresh mistakes, to make new friends, to gain wider and deeper experiences. This sense of the future is very important in terms of man's total adventure. One of the reasons why, for instance, we shrink from death, one of the reasons why all of the religions of the world know that they cannot address themselves finally to the deepest needs of the human spirit until somewhere in their theology or their dogma or their aspiration or their teaching, a recognition is made of what physically death in and of itself implies. For the thing that is dreadful, to use that word, about man's encounter with death is that it seems to man that the future is cut off. And if there is no future, then the present and the past begin to lose their meaning, so that all of the religions of the world have something important and crucial to say about the future. For if they can address themselves to the place of the future in man's total experience, then they can deal totally with man. Now, there's something else that's very important. The sense of tomorrow is a part of the sense of the future. Suppose you did not have tomorrow. Then, had you thought about what this would mean to how you would interpret your past and how you would interpret your present? For always, when, for instance, when you were young, very young, say 9, 10 years old, you knew that whatever may be happening to you at that moment, or whatever your past has meant to you, the real possibility of your life remained to be explored. So when you were 9 years old, you said, the thing that I'm looking for, really, I can't get until I'm in my teens. And then when you got into your teens, you said, no, I haven't had enough time yet, so that I can't experience it until I'm in my 20s. And then when you were in your 20s, you said, well, now, there's some things that can only come with a certain kind of maturity. So it'll have to come in my 30s, and on and on and on. I said, when I get there, the struggle will be over. But when I got there, I found that the struggle was not over, that the struggle will not be over. No, not even in death. This is the place of tomorrow. It means that I can bring to bear upon the next day all that I have learned and gathered or accumulated from all of the other days of the past. So the poet says, I go to prove my soul, I see my way as birds, their trackless way. I shall arrive. What time, what circuit first, I ask not. But unless God send his hail, his sleet, or fireballs, I shall arrive. He guides me and the bird in his good time. Now, this sense of tomorrow has something else to say about your life and about my life. It says that it may be possible for me to select those aspects of my past which seem to me to be excellent, to be worthful, but which I did not realize as being excellent or worthful when I was going through them. I can select these now in the present and prepare myself to build upon them in the future, so that the meaning of my life then becomes identified not merely with what I have experienced, not merely with what I am now experiencing, but the meaning of my life can be identified with that which is yet to come. It means that I have one more chance to do tomorrow in a manner that is more significant and more expressive of my true intent, things that would improve upon all that I have known in the past. So as we move into the new year, let us move into it face forward, greeting the future with hope and aspiration. Let us not back into the future, looking at the past, saying to ourselves that whatever the future may be, it cannot in any sense be as good as the past. No, the golden age is not in the past, was not yesterday. The golden age is tomorrow. Let us salute then the new year. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
This is tape number ET4 from the library of the Howard Thurman Educational Trust. Two meditations by Howard Thurman. This is side 2, entitled The Strength to be Free.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. During this month, many people in different parts of our country will be thinking about freedom and its meaning because of the national holiday that falls within the month. As a background for our thought about a certain aspect of freedom, I'm reading two paragraphs. Give me the strength to be free. The thought of being free comes upon us sometimes with such power that under its impact we lose the meaning that the thought implies. Often being free means to be where we are not at the moment, to be relieved of a particular set of chores or responsibilities that are bearing heavily upon our minds, to be surrounded by a careless rapture with no reminders of costs of any kind, to be on the open road with nothing overhead but the blue sky and the whole day in which to roam. For many, being free means movement, change, reordering. To be free may not mean any of these things. It may not involve a single change in a single circumstance, or it may not extend beyond one's own gate, beyond the four walls in the midst of which all of one's working hours and endless nights are spent. It may mean no surcease from the old familiar routine and the perennial cares which have become one's persistent lot. Quite possibly, your days mean the deepening of your rut, the increasing of your monotony, and the enlargement of the areas of your dullness. All of this and more may be true for you. Give me the strength to be free. Often to be free means the ability to deal with the realities of one's situation so as not to be overcome by them. It is a manifestation of a quality of being and living that results not only from understanding of one's own situation, but also from wisdom in dealing with it. It takes no strength to give up, to accept shackles of circumstance so that they become shackles of soul, to shrug the shoulders in bland acquiescence. This is easy. But do not congratulate yourself that you've solved anything. In simple language, you have sold out, surrendered, given up. It takes strength to affirm the high prerogative of your spirit, and you will find that if you do, a host of invisible angels will wing to your defense, and the glory of the living God will envelop your surroundings because in you he has come into his own. Give me the strength to be free and to endure the burden of freedom and the loneliness of those without change. There is the freedom of the innocent. Those who have not yet entered into any measure of responsibility, whose lives are free from carking care, from any of the burdens that are generated by the necessities of growth and maturity. It is the freedom of the little child whose childhood has been guaranteed by adults. For if a little child is not permitted to experience childhood, not merely to be a child chronologically, but to experience childhood, then he is forced to deal with his environment as if he were an adult. And if a child is forced to deal with his environment as if he were an adult, then certain very important biological and psychological processes that should be going on within the organism of the child are interrupted. And the nervous system of the child becomes warped and twisted and sometimes even gnarled, so that the child grows up now with this lack of the experience of childhood and becomes anti-social. He has what may be called an angry nervous system, where there is not guaranteed for the child the carefree freedom, if I may put it that way, of innocence. The society pays a terrible toll for as long as this child lives. There is another kind of freedom. It is the freedom that is the result of responsibility, the freedom to be responsible first for your own action. And this means growth in maturity, growth in wisdom. When I was a boy, I had two sisters. One was older and one was younger. And I found it a very convenient arrangement, because whenever I was reprimanded for doing something, I could always say that I did it to help my younger sister out, or I did it because of the influence of my older sister, always dodging the kind of necessity that belongs to the responsible individual, namely to take responsibility for one's own action. Now, there is another kind of responsibility with reference to action, and that is a responsibility for one's reaction. It is true that I cannot determine the influences or the forces that will be brought to bear upon my life. There are events which catch me in their agonizing grapple, with which I am unable to exercise any kind of control. These events are not responsive to my will, however good and kind and generous and holy or persistent my will may be. Now, given my set of involvements, given the impersonal forces that are brought to bear upon my life because of the very nature of my existence at the time and place that finds me, as a result of all of these things, I cannot have any determinative influence. But one responsibility that I do have, and that is I am responsible for my reaction to the things that happen to me. This is in my hands, and I can react with acquiescence. I can react as if I am a poor, undernourished victim of circumstances, or I may deal with the raw materials of my experience with the creative integrity of a responsible mind and personality. Now, there's another kind of freedom still, and that is the freedom of option. Freedom fundamentally, in its most crucial definition, means the sense of alternative, the sense of option. Now, I may not be able to act on the option, but if I maintain a sense of option, I am still free. Now, this is important, for where there is no sense of option, where the individual is stripped of all choice, when all opportunities for alternatives are eliminated, then the individual is not free. Therefore, any society that is dedicated to freedom, as our society theoretically is dedicated to freedom, must, above all else, guarantee for the individual a persistent and consistent sense of alternative, so that he is under no necessity to conform without any option being available to him. He must have a sense of option if he would be free. Give me the strength to be free and to endure the burden of freedom and the loneliness of those without chains. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer.